everybody. Welcome back to the Pursuing More podcast. Today we're going to talk about women in ministry.
It went so great the last
It was
time.
fantastic.
Today we're actually going to talk about something a little bit different. We've got Father's Day coming up. We're recording this on Friday. Hopefully we'll have it out by Saturday. We'll see. If not, we'll have it out Sunday or Monday. But whenever that Tuesday, whenever that you're listening, Father's Day is close by.
Yes.
So today's episode is simple, but it's important. And I want to talk directly to the men for a few minutes, or maybe you're not a dad yet, but you probably will be one day. We joke about it because in church, like Mother's Day messages are like uplifting and encouraging, and Father's Day messages are like you're awful.
Yeah.
You need to do a better
better.
job. So we're not trying to guilt anybody today, and I'm not here pretending like I got it all figured out. But just as brothers speaking guys to guys, that we need strong fathers again. We don't need perfect fathers. We don't need rich fathers or famous fathers, or we need faithful fathers. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I want to let Sean, kind of give his input throughout this. I don't want to talk the entire time like I did last episode. But when I think about a good father, we sing the song "Good, Good Father." We're not going to do it for Father's Day because it's overdone on Father's Day. But I don't know. We might. You never know what happens. But when I think about a good father, I think of a few things that make a good father. And the first thing I want to talk about is I believe that a good father is present, not just productive.
Yes.
Because we put an emphasis as a dad that, or just on men in general, that if I provide, I've done my job.
Yeah.
And I believe providing is important.
Absolutely.
You got to provide for your family, for your wife, even if you don't have children. But provision matters, but presence is where fatherhood actually happens.
Yes.
Because you can be a father, but you can work all the time and not actually be a real father to your children.
It's a hard balance, too.
It is. It is.
A hard balance.
Because it's you got to have money. You always need more money, especially in today's economy and society. But Joshua chapter 1 verse 8 says this. It says, "This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success." So when I read that, I get that God ties success not to just our activity or our productiveness, but to obedience and being consistent as a father. And as a father, your kids don't need just what you can buy them. They need you in the room. They need you at the table. They need you when it's boring, and not just at, I'm blessed with a job now where I can make almost all of their basketball games, when it's local. And I know a lot of dads say, well, I want to try to make it to their games, but they also need you when nothing else is going on.
Exactly.
And so when the truth about it is that kids don't spell love PROVIDE.
Yeah.
That's not what they look at for love. They look for your presence. And if we're honest, I believe that a lot of men are really good at providing, but emotionally you're living like a part-time roommate in your house. And it's hard. I mean,
I work all the time.
Yeah.
60 hours a week. Yeah. Usually.
And I mean, you're probably up before that they get up. And, I'm sure there's been times when Riley's asleep when you get back home.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times.
So I think you have to find that line. You have to provide, but you got to do more than that. You got to be there for them. And like I said, this is not condemnation. I just want to make us aware. And I think most people are, but chasing a dollar is really dangerous because it's never enough.
Yep.
I remember when I was growing up, which there's like, almost 10 years difference in us or something.
Like 7
or 8, something like that. But I remember when I was growing up, it's like, man, if I can just get this job, then I'm making $100,000 a year, and I'm still not making $100,000 a year.
Me neither.
But it still is not enough in today's economy.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that's the first thing. The second thing that I think about, which I know you're a girl dad, as they say.
I'm a girl dad.
I have 2 boys and 1 girl, but and I mean you can every man can speak to this, I believe, whether you have a son or not. But when it comes to raising boys, I think that we have to make sure that we're raising our boys into men, and not just older boys.
Absolutely,
because we have that a lot.
I've met a lot of older boys.
Yeah. That are 30s, 40s, 50 years old, and they're still acting like a boy.
Absolutely.
And we're watching a whole generation of boys who are confused about manhood and what it is. It's not about being the best athlete or even being the best student, but I want to raise strong men. I don't want culture to define what my children think of manhood. I want to look at it from a biblical way. So what do godly fathers do is we disciple. That Proverbs 22 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old he will not depart from it. And training is not accidental. It's not just something that you repeat. Training is correction in a loving way. Training is saying no when it's easier to say it's fine. Just whatever. Just stop crying. Just get away from me.
Stop.
Stop fighting. My boys, well, I mean, they're both on the worship team. They fight like cats and dogs, and sometimes. I try to correct them, but sometimes I just want to say, if y'all don't stop fighting, I'm about to get in there with you. This is not going to be a very politically correct episode.
And they do fight horribly. But my daughter, she has nobody to fight with except me and her mom. So, she's a good kid, but she loves the tantrums nowadays.
Yeah. What do you think when a boy becomes a man? What do you think happens in between that, like mentally or emotionally?
I think learning responsibility is the biggest part of it. When you learn that, that you're not going to be handed everything and everything's not fair. I think that's a big thing that I had to get over. Like when I went to, my first few jobs, I thought, well, those guys are making more money than me. Well, yeah, they've been there 15 years. It's not going to be fair. But, you have to work towards things in your life, just like a career. You can't just start at the top. You have to work through things. And that was something that was hard for me to, that everything's not going to be fair and everything's not going to just be handed to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think responsibility is key. I think discipline is key. I mean, you've got to have some discipline. You can tell I don't have much discipline when it comes to a good plate of food, but discipline is a big one. Just to get up ready and to be on time.
Yeah.
And
I'm not good at that one.
Yeah. Well, it's like my kids. If the people from the Christian school that are watching this episode know that my kids are rarely on time, but I've told them. I said, "Look, this is a new school year coming up."
Yeah.
And because the fact of the matter is, as parents, if we let them learn throughout school, they can be late. There's no repercussions. That's not preparing them well for the future.
When they get to work, it's a different ballgame.
That don't work like that. Nope. Yeah. Respect, I think, is another, teaching people to respect not only their elders, we know that from the scripture, but to respect each other and their colleagues, their bosses. I think a huge problem in today's society is that there's just no respect for authority.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's like, to your parents is one thing, but we see this with police. There's no respect for police or your teachers. That's why you got kids. I mean, I've seen all these videos of teenage boys getting up and smacking.
Trying to fight their teacher.
Fight their teacher. It's crazy. Got to have respect. And I'm a pastor. I think we got to train them to respect God's house.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
And so respect's great. Has to be there. And another big one that I think is to learn to be able to control your emotions, because you can have somebody that's great, but when that flip switches,
Yep.
and you know, I struggle with it. Everybody struggles.
Absolutely.
But as a man, you've got to learn to control that.
Yep.
You know, with Toby specifically, my youngest son, he is he's had trouble with some teachers before.
Yeah.
You know, he's had trouble with people that he just don't get. It's not somebody who like he's naturally drawn to. But you've got to teach them to how to perform in those circumstances, because there's always going to be somebody that you don't get along with. So, and this is the part where, you know, people may get mad or whatever, especially if you're younger, listen to this, but a boy doesn't come a man by age.
Yeah.
I mean, we have like 18 or 21 or whatever but it's not by age. And I'll say this, there's times I still feel like a kid, man, but it wasn't until I had my daughter really that I felt I was, let's see, 22 when I had Gideon. I was 24 when I had Toby, and then I was 30 when I had Addie. And I remember thinking, I just now feel mature enough to actually have a kid. I've already got two at this point. But a boy doesn't become a man by age. He becomes a man by what forms him.
Yep.
And you're, as a father, we are the one that sets that tone. Yep. We're the one. Sometimes that means teaching him how to work, how to have a good work ethic. Sometimes that means, you know, teaching him how to apologize when he's in the wrong. Sometimes that means saying, son, you're not quitting this just because it got hard.
Yes.
And that's another one. Both of I'm talking about Toby a lot, but Toby's just, when you have kids, you've got some that have just really strong personalities, and Toby, when he gets mad at something, he wants to quit. He done the Little League basketball, or Little Eagles, they call it. And he was frustrated, and he wanted to quit. No, son, you signed up for it. You're going to do it. You're going to stick it out to the end. He, you know, when you treat them, Lord, I can't speak, but when you treat them like that, they may look like that you just betrayed them, you know, but it's important.
I'm glad I don't deal with these problems yet.
Oh, well,
it's coming.
You might,
it's coming.
So let's talk about, I've talked about my sons, my wonderful sons. I love them, and I know God's got a call on their life, and I'm proud of them. But let's talk a little bit about daughters a little bit, because my view as a father really changed when I had Addie. I don't know. It's just something about a father-daughter relationship. I think that a father's love, the way that you love your daughter, becomes like a basis of how that she should expect to be treated.
Absolutely.
And if you're not teaching her how that she should be treated and valued and cared for, and even that she feels safe, you know, you could be setting her up for a lifelong failure. Because I certainly wouldn't want any other man, you know, to come in and treat my daughter any different than the way that I treat her. And I'll say this too. I think that a father's love is oftentimes what shapes really a girl or a boy's identity and who that they are. Like if they know that they're loved, that changes the way that they think about themselves and the way they see themselves. And I know I'm talking a lot here, so you just jump in anytime.
You do whatever you do.
Psalm 68 says this, talking about God the Father, that He's a father of the fatherless.
Yes.
He's a defender of the widows. God introduces Himself as a father of the fatherless, and that tells you something, that fatherhood is supposed to reflect God's character and who that He is. So when you have a father that's absent, or a father that's harsh, or you know, I mean, like emotionally unavailable. Like that's a big thing too. Is girls especially want to feel loved by their father. They want to come up and jump up in your lap, and and
nothing better than that.
There's
not a feeling in the world like that.
There's not.
I think, which I don't have boys, so I can't. I have your boys. I mean, they're enough for me.
Yeah.
But I think Riley she's changed she's made me soft, really.
Yeah.
I mean, she's made me a much softer person.
Yeah.
Because and I've been, I've coached and I've done all these things with young boys and young men, and like, there's such a difference between how I would react to them that I'll react to her.
Yeah.
There's such a huge difference in the way that you have to be toward, and I even see it like in Madison.
Yeah.
She's coaching boys for the first year this year. I said, look, like, this is not the same. Yeah. Like, you have to be hard on them. You have to.
Yeah.
You can say one thing to those girls and they start crying.
Yeah.
But those boys, they're giving her a run for her money now, yes. I'm telling you. But having a daughter, man, I love being a girl dad. I think I was upset. I'm not afraid to say that when we found out we were having a girl. Yeah. I wanted a boy so bad, but man, I would not trade Riley for nothing. Yeah. I mean, she has made me, I think, honest to God, I think having a girl has made me a better man overall.
Yeah,
absolutely. I really do.
You're talking about how girls make you soft. I'll say this. I know you just have one daughter right now, but with Gideon, here's what I find myself, that I feel bad as a father sometimes, is that, like, my first son, he's older than Toby, and it makes me expect more out of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I have higher standards for the way like, if I tell him to go find something, and my son Gideon is, he couldn't find something if it was right in front of his face. But I'll get mad at him and chew him out, and then I feel bad because he's really only, he's 14 or getting ready to turn 14 now. So I guess I have a little more justification, but I was that way when he was little too.
Yeah.
So I think it's important as a father just to be aware. You can't live through them. You can't,
Yeah, they have to have their own path.
Yeah.
But I think you can help a lot guiding that path that they're on. I think that's the most important thing, that you are a guide, not just spiritually, but in, like you said, in becoming a man and all the things that are hard in their life, you can be that person that guides them through, steps that you've took that you wish you hadn't had.
Right.
You can help them with stuff like that.
Yeah. I meant to ask you at the beginning of the episode if you figured out fatherhood.
No, I'm never going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Never, ever, dude.
It's always, you always learn something, and you always, but I'll say this specifically about a daughter. I believe when you have a father that is present, that is steady, that she knows she can come to anytime, that's loving, that she can always feel that love for, I think it anchors a daughter. Mm-hmm. And it does a son too. But they're just different. It's, she learns that she's secure, that she's valued, that she don't have to chase love.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have had Abigail on here tonight, which we've been together since we've been 16. But what I see a lot as a pastor, and just from observation, is that you see a lot of girls who chase love, and even women that go from relationship to relationship to relationship because they're chasing something that they never had, that they don't know what it looks like.
Yes.
And if you teach your daughter that she don't have to earn your affection, that's, man. And if we could just realize that about God.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. That we don't have to earn his affection. He loves us just the way that we are.
No matter what.
And that's what a good father looks like. Yes. It's God's character. And let me say this to all the dads of daughters. Your daughter's first experience of love from a man should be from you. It should be from you. They should know what that looks like. It shouldn't come from the world, not some 17-year-old boy with a hoodie and a bad haircut.
The bad haircuts these days, man. That could be a whole nother podcast.
And let's be real. Some of us, like we feel really good. Let me just speak to us as dads. I'm trying to get real here. Like, we feel like we're doing a good job because we fixed a leak. That's like, for instance, I had a leak in my sink, underneath my sink for like a year. And it wasn't really bad, but we would stick a bucket under it, and then when that bucket got full, we'd take it out. So it wasn't like, I didn't think that it was dire need, so I let it go. But what happened was it started molding under that sink.
Yes.
And then I had to tear everything out of it. And it's still ugly. Like, I've got to do a bunch of trim work, but I neglected it. But sometimes we think that because we fixed a leak under the sink or something that our wife has asked us to do for 6 months, that, we've come into manhood and that we're a good father. I changed a light bulb. I'm good, But you're just functioning as a homeowner. You need to calm down a little bit. That's just a responsibility. But fatherhood is not just doing maintenance work. Yes. Fatherhood it's heart work. It's you got to teach it from your heart. So I want to move into what does spiritual fatherhood look like? And here's the thing: not every father is just biological. Mm-hmm. Because we see a lot of men who have a father. They have a male in their life, but he's not a father to them. He's absent. He's doing his own thing. And what happens is if you're not a father to your child, somebody else is going to be.
Absolutely.
And it might be the world. It might be TikTok. It might be, somebody's going to father and develop your children. I want to talk about being a spiritual father and what that looks like, because I don't know if you consider yourself that or not, but you are a spiritual father. To the kids love you, they look up to you, and a spiritual father kind of steps into a place of leadership, a place of mentoring them, and even covering them. And Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians chapter 4. It says, "For though you might have 10,000 instructors in Christ, yet you do not have many fathers. For in Christ Jesus I have begotten you through the gospel." There's a difference between just being an instructor and being a father. Because I can sit and yell at my kids and tell them how to do things all day long and be frustrated that they don't do it the way that I want it to. But I'm just being an instructor. I give information. Yes. But a father gives identity. Instructors will correct behavior. They'll say, "You done that wrong. You need to act different." But being a father shapes their destiny into who that they are going to be. And so even if you're watching this today and you're not a father, you don't have kids, you can still be a spiritual father, because a spiritual father don't just tell you what to do. They walk with you through the season of life that you're in, and they help you form you into the person that God has called you to be. They're along that path with you. And in the church specifically, we need men who will step up and disciple younger men. We need men who will model what repentance looked like, to be broken before God. We need men who will stay consistent in their life, because there's a lot of kids who do not have the consistency of a father. We have men who show up for these kids even when it's inconvenient for them. We need men who won't abandon them in the middle of their struggle. And being a spiritual father, like if maybe you consider yourself a spiritual father, it's not about authority over that person. It's about responsibility and knowing that you have an influence on their life. So I wish that we would have men who would step up and help these kids. And we do. We have especially in our church, we have, a lot of men that are really good about that. And,
Yeah.
and
Shout out to Michael.
Yes.
He can do anything. Yeah. He's the best help.
Absolutely.
But I think like the community of our church, like, you know, I love your kids like they're my own, and you love mine like she is your own. You know, and even though if she hated you for the first year we were here, but it's like you know, even though I'm not your boy's dad, so there are times that I jump on your boys.
Yeah.
You know, and when my daughter messes up, I expect you to do the same.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. I truly believe that. You know, you can't do it with just two people.
That's right.
And I think we have a great one here. I really do. I love everybody here, and I think that, you know, even if they're not our kids, we still take care of them. And, you know, when one of them gets lost in the parking lot running to the swing set, all of us are out there looking, you know.
Yeah. I think that, you know, as a parent, speaking about a spiritual father, you have to get to the place as well where when you do have somebody that your kid looks up to. Now, let me back up and say, it is important as a parent to vet the people that you allow them to be around.
Yes.
Because you may have somebody who influences that is not good, you know. Yes. I had a friend, I probably shouldn't tell this to you, but I had a friend whose dad was hilarious, and I loved him, still love him. But he would, you know, let us be boys a little too much. Yeah. And we would get into a little bit of trouble, you know, and he was right there with us just having a great time. And I love him to death. But, and I'm not saying that he was a bad influence, but I'm just saying it's important as a parent to know who your kids are around. Yeah. But once you know that person, there has to be a level of trust. Yeah. You're our worship pastor. I trust you to correct them, not only in music, but I know your heart, and I know your intentions, and I know that it's good for them.
And I think, you know, speaking of the men in this church, you know, I think that we have strong leadership and strong people that, you know I mentioned Michael, but, you know, there's a plethora of men, you know, Will and Lamar and Travis and all these people that, like, I would trust. If my daughter was here by herself, I would trust any one of those men to come and look over her, you know, and anything that goes wrong, I know they can handle it. Yeah. And I think that's if you don't have parents, if you don't have good parents, that is so valuable. Yeah. Even if you do have great parents, that is so valuable for your church family to be, you know, like a steward of your children. Yeah. It's so valuable.
Yeah. I think, you know, Lamar and I grew up going to church together, and my parents and his parents were really close. Yeah. And David, Lamar's dad, I mean, when we needed help moving something, we called them, they'd be there. Anytime that we needed something, it's so important to have people like that in your life that you can depend on.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I hope that, and I'll say this, I believe that's why church is so important, because you do find a community there that you don't find in most places.
Absolutely.
And I know that's not true of every church. Some churches, I will say this, as you get larger, a larger congregation, it's harder to feel that close-knit community. But even if you are going to a church that has 1,000 people, you can still have a relationship. You may not know everybody in the church, but you can still have a group of people. And it's important, because let me get down and just be real on this podcast today. Men, if we're 100% honest with ourselves, there's a lot of times that we want to be like a lone wolf. Yeah. We want to do life by ourselves. We don't want to have, and maybe some of it comes from pride. There's a level of pride that's in most men that you don't see as much in women, I think. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying that there's not prideful women, but I don't know, it's easier for a man to be prideful and to say, I got this. I don't need to consult. Yeah. And I know with my relationship with my dad, you know, when we first got married, I didn't take his counsel as good as I should have, or even as a teenager, man, we would fight and go on because I thought that I had life figured out. And what I figured out as you get older, the more valuable that counsel is, the more important it is. So
I've never met a teenager that didn't think they had it all figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, every one of them is living life and they've got it all together.
Yeah.
But
now it's important to leave your mom and dad. That's not what I'm trying to say. But there's like a polar opposite that you see. You have some people who like stay with mom and dad and they're living there, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between just milking everything that you can off mom and dad than trying to set out on your own. And I'm not saying don't ask for help, because there's time. I'll say this: there's times that I didn't ask for help. That if my mom and dad would have knew about the situation, they would have been mad that I didn't ask for help, because my pride.
Yeah, well, that's something that, I don't want help with nothing. You know, I mean, like, growing up, I've worked for everything. I've never been handed a thing. I've worked for everything. I'm not being boastful, but I am proud that I've worked for, hard for everything that I got. But there have been times when I did not want to ask for help. And if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have asked for help.
Yeah.
She will go and I'll tell her, don't do it. Don't ask. I don't want it. Whatever, the help, whatever. And she'll do it anyway, because she knows I ain't going to get it done. I'm going to have some help.
Yeah.
And it's all pride, man.
Yeah.
It's all like, I'm not a prideful person, but I hate asking for help. I hate it. I hate it.
There's a level of pride in this all. If we're real about it.
Yep.
I know we were doing the Dave Ramsey program.
Yes.
Shout out to Dave Ramsey if you've ever done that. But we were trying to get out of debt, and so I was getting ready. My truck was shot. It was done. And so I was getting ready to go buy a vehicle, and I took it down there, and then I was like, no, I'm going to listen to what Dave said. I'm going to buy something. And so I paid for this vehicle cash, and this was back several years ago when cell phone services, I'm just telling everything tonight, but cell phone service wasn't great. I went over to Pikeville. My phone wasn't working, and I had told Abigail that I was going to go look at vehicles. And I found one. It was now let me back up and say I've had a truck my entire life, but this was a Infiniti. I think it was a QX56 or whatever they're called. Super nice SUV, leather. It had an entertainment package, and it had a lot of miles on it, but it was super nice. And so I bought it without, I couldn't get a hold of Abigail. And so anyway, I come home and I got service, and I was like, I got a surprise for you. And she's like, what is it? And I was like, I bought this vehicle. And the phone was just silent. Anyway, she hated this vehicle so much. This is a long story. I'm acting like her now. I'm making a short story long. So she hated this vehicle. And so I said, well, I'm going to sell it. So I sold it. I actually made a little bit on that vehicle. But then I didn't have any vehicle of my own. We had my wife's car, and I wanted the truck. It did bother me. If you got a truck and you're thinking about going to an SUV only, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Because you'll never
Horrible
be happy.
Mistake.
Yeah. Just taking off the trash. You don't realize what a task taking off the trash is when you don't.
You got to put the liner down. You can't get
you got the
juice in the
trash juice in the back. Yeah. Anyway, so I sold it and bought this old truck. It was I don't know, it was almost 20 years old when I bought it. And I loved it. It was a big Dodge, and it had a lift on it. And I put 33s on it, and it was really nice. But it was old. And I was pulling in the driveway one day, and I just got white steam. I mean, just spewing out from under the hood. And the seal, I'm not a mechanic, okay? The seal around the engine where the water pump went in had went bad. And I got the idea, I'm a man now, and I'm going to fix this thing myself.
Yes.
I did have enough wisdom to pull that truck to my father-in-law's house, because and here was my excuse. because they got good level ground, which
Right,
I don't have
yeah,
at mine.
right.
But the real reason was, so I had
You
some
knew he was
backup.
going to be coming out the house.
I knew. Well, this truck, I mean, you had to like get down in it. You had to get in the frame of the vehicle. I wasn't fitting.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him, and it was, I had to lower down some pride and say, hey, I know I said I was going to fix this, but I can't, and he had to come and help me and bail me out of that situation. But man, that was a really long story. Just to say this, don't be too prideful to ask for help when you need it.
Absolutely.
So.
And thank God for good father-in-laws.
Yes.
Man, I couldn't make it without mine.
Yes, absolutely. It's important to lean on people.
Absolutely.
And they didn't. I mean, my father, they're not that much older than us, but they've made it this far. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They've got some wisdom that I don't have. Yep. And I don't know. I just thank God for all the men in my life that have each given me things that other people haven't. My dad, wonderful dad. He always made sure that we were in church. They were business owners, and so like I don't have the skills of working on a vehicle because they had their own business. They'd take their cars to get work on. So I still don't know how to work on vehicles. I could change the oil at this point, change a tire. But I thank God for the men that He placed in my life that have sown into me and hunting and fishing, just taking me in. It's a wonderful thing.
My dad is not, that's all my uncles and my papa, the hunting and the fishing. My dad is not a hunting and fishing guy, which he worked so much. I mean, he didn't have time to teach me hardly anything. He was working out of town all the time. But I believe that God places people in your life to like show you the things that you're not going to learn on your own. I truly, really believe that, because there's been so many men that have influenced me that are not my family or not, anybody that I would have just known through my family or anything like that. So many great men that have influenced me. I think of my football coach in high school. Rick Mullins. I hope and pray to God you watch this. Chandler, his son, was like my best friend. But when I think of a spiritual father, man, he was tough. I mean, he was one of those guys that just demanded respect. And I was scared to death of him when I was like a freshman in high school. Scared to death. But he was one of those guys that he didn't take nothing off nobody, but he always showed God first. We prayed every chance we got. He would always, Gary Maggard would come every week and do a Bible study with the whole team. And he was like, when my dad was working out of town, he was consistently a father figure in my life. And he always put God first. And I honestly believe without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. He was such an influence on my life.
And I'll say this too. I know I talked earlier about, being present, and that is true. But there are times in your life when you've got to make a decision. Am I going to provide or am I going to be there? And that's a tough thing. I'm thankful for the job that I have, that I've not had to make that decision. And so if you are a dad that's in that position, first of all, I'm praying for you. I know that it's not easy, and I don't know. I'm thankful for those men that are like that step in and help, raise our kids really and impact them. So, I'm going to try to wrap it up here for too long, but I guess what I'm saying is that we get this concept of what a man should look like, what a dad should look like. And, for a long time I thought, authority figure, but God, somebody that's strong, and all those those are good characteristics to have, but God's not just looking for a strong personality or somebody who's an authoritarian. He's looking to build steady men who don't fold under pressure, that stands for what they believe in, men who pray. And let me jump on this it's not really a bandwagon, but jump on this topic for a minute. We need men who will be intercessors. That's what, we've talked about that in our church a little bit. But a lot of times as a man, we think of an intercessor, we think of praying mamas and praying grannies and thank God for them. We talked about that last week. But we also need men who know how to pray, who know how to reach the throne room for their kids and for their family. We need men who will pray when it's easier just to quit and to fold. Men who will lead their homes without being passive.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to share this scripture, something that I got wrong for a long time. In Matthew chapter 11, Jesus, and we know this, come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Then he says this, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart. And I had trouble finding it because I was reading a different translation and didn't have that word meek in it. And one thing that I got wrong for so long, I mean, we're called to be like Jesus. That's what being a Christian is. And I would read that verse, and Jesus is saying, I'm meek and I'm lowly in heart. That if we're not careful, we want to be humble. We don't want to be filled with pride. But what that does not look like is being a passive man. Mm-hmm. And if I've struggled with anything before, it's that I've been passive at times. And because, I want to be humble. I want people to know that I love them. But this word that Jesus has used, meek, it goes back to a word called praeus, I believe is how you pronounce it in Greek. And it was the same term that they would use to describe a Greek war horse. And what that meant, when they would go and find these horses, they would look, for the wildest one that they could find to be a war horse. Yeah. And they would break it. And so it would have all this power and all this, strength and just get up and go. But they would break it. And that word meek, it means power under control. Mm. And so we need some men who know how to control themselves, but also will step up and be the provider, be the protector. I've not talked about that. I mean, in today's society, you got to protect your children, not only physically, but you got to protect them from what they see. Mm-hmm. There's so much, but God's not looking for men that are passive. He's looking for men that will stand up for what they believe in.
I think that, like what you said, there's so much out there now. Like, even, I'm only 29 years old. I've been out of high school for 11 years. But even from when I was in school to now, the way that things have changed, like, your kids can access stuff online that adults should never see, that nobody should ever see. Yeah. And, we think of protecting as like, I got a gun beside my bed. Yeah. I'm going to protect, don't be coming in my house. But, but, I'm just joking. But, I think so many people think of protecting as like, I'll fight for my family. Yeah. And I know me or you, either one, would fight for our families, whatever it takes to protect them. But not only that, but protecting them mentally and protecting their emotions and protecting, the things that, like you said, not just physical, but protecting what they see, what they do, what they hear, the people that they're around. There's so much more that goes into protecting than just protecting your household or, that you're going to fight for your family or whatever it is.
And for an example of this, I remember when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Yes. I was scrolling, and I was actually watching a live, I think, for a Beaver chainsaw, or however you say that. I was watching, they were doing a demo, and then somebody in the live comments said Charlie Kirk was just assassinated. So I moved out and went over, and I immediately saw that clip of him getting shot. Tragedy, terrible thing. And man, that really affected me. Yes. Like, I wish I wouldn't have seen that. And then I get home from work, and I find out that my son has saw this post. And I'm thinking, I didn't even want to see it. And now my child is, it's so important. And he don't have TikTok. He don't have, I guess somebody had sent it to him or something. But, and I'll just be honest with you, and I'm not judging anybody that does this, but my sons are 14 and 12. They do have phones. but we've got it locked down. We don't have internet
Yeah.
on them. We don't have Instagram, or we don't let them have Facebook, Snapchat. I think, I'll just be real, I think Snapchat's of the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Yes.
as somebody who was a teenager and a boy, I know
absolutely.
what trouble that I would have
Yes.
been in on Snapchat. So anyway, but God's looking for men who will lead. God's looking for men who will say, you know, I'm not perfect. I know that I'm not the best at it. I know the longer that you're in the game, the more you realize that you don't have this figured out. But you know what? I am present for my children.
Yes.
I am growing. I'm not the man that I want to be, but I'm not the man I used to be. And
Yeah.
I'm still growing. And most of all, I'm not leaving.
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yep.
Even if my children go off and do something super stupid or something that I don't agree with, I'm still going to be here for you.
Yes.
You know, I talk a lot about or the church. You know, homosexuality in the day and age that we live in is, you know, it's everywhere, and it's just so widely accepted. And you know, I pray that my children have a foundation that's strong enough that they know their identity. But maybe today you're watching as a dad and you have a son who's, you know, come out, and or you have a daughter. I want you to know that, first of all, that we're praying for you, and we the church wants to marginalize everybody. We have to love everybody, but we also have to let them know the truth.
Absolutely.
And I think as a father, if you are walking through that situation, and if I ever did walk through that situation, I would want my children to know, hey, no, I don't agree with you.
Yes.
I think your identity is rooted and grounded in Christ. I think there's a natural order to things, but I want you to know I love you. I'm still here. When you need me, I'm here.
And that is what God's love is.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what that is. No matter what you've done or where you've been, or, you know, it's never too late.
Yeah.
I think so many people struggle with that too, that they think I've done too much. You know, if you are struggling with homosexuality or lust or any of the things that men are prone to struggle with, you know, it don't matter what you've done, because God is going to be there no matter what the circumstance is. Or I think of that Brandon Lake song. I can't remember the words right now, but it lists all the bad things he's done.
Yeah.
And at the end, it don't matter.
Right.
Because God is still there, you know.
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned about lust, I think that it's so important to be genuine with your children, especially when they get to an age where they're going to struggle with it. And I think it's important to be real with them and say, you know what, I've been there. I've been in your shoes.
Absolutely.
And lead them through that, because if not, it's a shameful thing and they feel isolated. But just to let them know, hey, I've been there. You know, it means the world. So to every father that's listening today, I just want to tell you that if you feel like you failed, because I think we all feel that way sometimes, don't quit. Keep on keeping on. If you feel that you're behind, don't just stop. If you feel, you know, overwhelmed, man, I feel so overwhelmed sometimes, just because, you know, I know I'm supposed to provide. And sometimes those checks are not big enough, you know. Sometimes there's, but here's the thing: when you feel overwhelmed, don't disappear. Don't withdraw yourself. Don't isolate yourself. And if you're watching this today, we all can do better.
Absolutely.
Start today. You say, well, you know, I'm not the best spiritual father. I don't lead my children. I don't pray with them. I don't read the Bible with them. Start today. Don't wait till next year. Don't wait till, you know, when life calms down, because it's not going to calm down. There'll always be something. Start today, because your kids don't need a perfect father. They need a present father who's willing to grow, willing to recognize their mistakes, willing to apologize when they're wrong. And the beautiful thing about God is this, that he just don't command us to be good fathers. He empowers it.
Yes.
He models it.
Yes.
And we've got to, that's, if we model what it is to be a good father, our children are going to know that. And they're going to grow up and know that they're loved. They're going to know how to treat their wives, how to treat their husbands, how that they should be treated. Yes. So fathers are so important, and we thank you for all that you do. And I know that it's hard and it's tough, but keep on keeping on.
I'll tell you, the other night, Madison has been out of town this week, and this is how I sum up fatherhood. This is what it looks like for me. My youngin was going to bed. Shout out Amy for keeping my youngin. I gave her a big hug. I said, "Good night, Daddy loves you." And she sit back on my lap and she said, "I love Mommy." And I said, "Okay." So to the dads out there, they're going to love their mom more. I don't know what it is. But, even little things like that, people would get bent out of shape about it, depressed about it, and, it tore me up. It hurt me. I'm kidding. But really, even through her, even when she said that, and it broke my heart because I want her to love me more, but she always is going to love her mommy more. Yeah. I still love the youngin, and I still do whatever I can for her, but she's always going to love mommy more. I don't know. So.
Yeah. You got any good embarrassing fatherhood?
Oh yeah, I got all kinds, man.
Give me one. I'm trying to think of one.
So I would think, throughout my life, I've not really been a baby person. I'm not. That's just not for me. And at the hospital, we had Riley, and I was freaking out, panicking, and the lady, Madison, had a C-section, emergency C-section, and I hope she don't mind me saying that, but I was panicking out. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So, they get Riley and everything's cool, and they're weighing her and checking her blood and all this stuff. I don't know what they do, but I was in a panic,
Yeah.
Well, this lady, she weighs Riley, and it was just like this. She weighed her, she picked her up, and she turned to me, and she went, and I said, "You want me to take her right now?"
Yeah, right now.
You want me to take
her
right now? And she was like, "Well, yeah, do you not want to hold your baby?" I was like, "I don't know if I do or not." I have way more than that. I mean, it's been a mess since she's been born. I've thought so many times, there's no way I can do this.
Yeah.
There's no way that I'm going to be a good dad. And at the beginning, there is no way you're going to be a good dad.
Yeah.
You have to learn as you go, I think.
Yeah. I'll never forget, especially that first time when you're a new dad, you've literally just experienced the most traumatic experience that you'll ever go through in your life. And then you're like, okay, it's over. And then they bring this kid into your room.
Yeah.
And Abigail has had, C-sections every time. And so I don't think that I have ever changed a baby. And those of you that are dads that have done this know that those first few diaper changes are different
they're
than
rough.
the rest of them.
They were rough ones.
And so I'm sitting there, I gag at the drop of a hat. I'm gagging, and Abigail's laughing and holding her belly because she's sore. And I don't know. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I had a dream when I found out that Abigail was pregnant. We had some friends. I think Will and Rach was there. I know Sam and Ann was.
Yeah.
Shout out Sam Hubbard. I don't remember who all was there. I had no idea. Yeah. I was so shocked. And then we drove home, and that's when that one of those big snowstorm hits. And so we had to end up. We made it from Kingsport all the way back to Norton, and we had to end up staying in a hotel because the roads were shut down. And I went in there and laid down. I had dreams that World War III was starting, and I was trying to prop up mattresses and helicopter. I mean, it was just wild. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a scary thing.
It is a scary thing. I do think something clicks in you.
It does.
When you do experience fatherhood for the first time, something really changes in you. The way that you, love for your child is like nothing else. I mean, I have never experienced a love like that, for my kid. But something just, for me, I thought I took a week off work when Riley was born. And the whole time I was thinking, man, I need to get back to work. Like, I need to go to work, you know. And I remember the day that we were going to have her, Madison had went to just a regular checkup, and her blood pressure got high. So she calls me, she says, I think we're having this baby tonight. This was on a Thursday. Riley was born on Friday, and I called my boss. I couldn't even talk. I was panicking.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to pack a bag, tell him I was not going to be at work on Friday, you know, all this stuff. And he said, hey, big guy, take a breath. He said, you're going to be fine. You need to just take a breath and calm down. Shout out Popeye. Thank God for him. But he said, you need to just take a breath and calm down. He said, you're going to have a baby. You're not going to die. You know, it's going to be fine. But that's the feeling you have. You think, you know, I mean, it's a wild panic. If you're not a dad, you just wait. Because if you've ever thought you've been stressed out, does not touch it.
Yeah.
The nurses at the hospital, they put me in like a separate room. I was pacing the floor. They're like, well, you can come in here in like 10 minutes. I sit in that room for 8 hours, there's no doubt. And I was pacing the floor, and that nurse walked in there, and she said, are you okay? I thought, you do this every day. Like, I've never had a child before. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But, man, what a panic. It's such a great time. Like, you never get that time back.
Well, Abigail, when we had Gideon, our first son, he was, I think he was 6 weeks early. And so she had trouble the whole time, and she'd been in the hospital a bunch. So, you know, I was not prepared at all, you know, and when we went in there, her blood pressure just kept going up and they come and said, hey, we're going to have to take the baby. You know, her life depends on it. It's got to come out now. And they were, you know, preparing us that they were going to take him to the NICU. And I mean, it was just terrifying. And we were at the hospital completely by ourselves, you know, because we thought we'd give her some medicine, the contractions would stop, and, you know, she'd be good, but it didn't work out. So they said, you know, we're going to have to do an emergency C-section. I said, okay, when do I need to call the family? When are we doing this? I said, right now, stick out your arms. And so I stick my arms out, and they give you that jumpsuit. Yeah. Well, it doesn't fit me. And so I have one suit that I have pulled up on my legs, and then the arms are tied around my waist. And then the other one is just the top portion.
They do not make big and tall jumpsuits.
No, they don't. Oh, but it was an experience. So,
and that support system, man, that's another important thing. Like, if you know somebody who's about to have a child, you know, that, man, I couldn't. The church that we went to before we started coming here, man, they brought us food every day. I mean, like, that's so important. And even like the people that come to the hospital, you know, there was people I didn't even know was there that brought things, and like, you're so stressed out, you know, you have no idea. But thank God for those people, man. We couldn't have made it without those people. All the people that were in there, and it's just such a crazy experience. You know, I thought that I didn't eat for like 3 days. Yeah. My mom and dad brought me a Tudor's biscuit. I'll never forget it. A Tudor's bologna biscuit. Shout out mom and dad. They brought that to me, and you know me, I love to eat. I just sit there and stared at that biscuit for like 10 minutes, just like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And my dad, he looked at me, he said, why don't you come out here to the parking lot for a minute? Me and him walked to the parking garage, and I just sit there and cried. I mean, I'm a softie when it comes to my youngin'. I just sit there and cried, man, because like, it's such an emotional, you know, thing. It's the craziest thing I've ever done in my life is be a dad. It's crazy.
It is. I went, same situation. We were, you know, Abigail couldn't eat, so I wasn't eating. And it had, you know, been, I think 2.5 days. And man, I was starving. And she was like, Abigail, after Gideon, she was like out of it because they gave her all that, I think it was magnesium or something. And Gideon was in the NICU. We couldn't see him for a while they were doing that. So when they were like taking her to the room, they said, you know, it'll probably be 30 minutes to an hour before that you'll be able to see her. And so I went to Johnson City Medical Center cafeteria salad bar. I ate the best salad I've ever had in my life because I was like, thank you, Lord, you know. But anyway, I have so many stories. Yeah. Them fighting, and one time, and I may cut out a bunch of this, but one time they were fighting and going on. They were little, and we had I had an old Carhartt T-shirt. You know, them are stitched real good. We put them both in it and said, y'all are going, so we call it the Get Along shirt. We put that over both of them. They hated it. But one story, and I'll close with this, that changed my whole perspective of fatherhood. We went down, the boys were little. They were at the Christian school at this time. I think Gideon was in first grade and Toby was in preschool. And we went down to the beach, spur of the moment trip. It was our anniversary in November. It was still kind of cold. And we went, I think it was called Santa Rosa Island or something. And it's like a nature reserve. And we pull out there and it looks like snow, just that super white sand. And so we got out and we walked out on this beach and it was like untouched. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that where the sand's got like waves in it. It was beautiful. Had like, they had signs where turtles were hatching there. Unbelievably beautiful. No footsteps on the beach. Nobody, it was untouched. And I'm walking out through there and I'm in front of them and the boys are between us and then Abigail was behind. And they walked out and they said, "Look, Daddy, I'm walking in your footsteps." And I looked behind me and, you know, they're sitting there taking these big strides, trying to walk in my footsteps. And that done something to me and changed me, because the fact of the matter is, whether your children will admit it or not, they are walking in your footsteps.
Absolutely.
So where are you going? Where are you spending your time? Are you devoted to the Lord? Are you following Jesus? Because your children ultimately will follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to all the dads, man, keep going. You got people relying on you. No matter how down you feel, you got to keep going. You got people counting on you. To my dad, I love you. Thank you for everything that you've done. I wouldn't be where I'm at without you.
Yeah. I'll say the same thing to my dad. Love you. I thank God to have a godly father and somebody who took the time to have me in church and teach me the things of the Lord, because if you have that, and let me say this too, my dad is still around, thank the Lord. But my cousin, who's 6 years younger than I am, he don't have a dad this Father's Day. Cancer took him. There's so many of you watching today that your dad has passed on. And you know that you give more than anything just to tell them that you love them one more time. So if your dad's still alive, take time to do that. And if you know somebody that's lost their dad in this Father's Day season, reach out to them, make sure they're okay, and just check in on them. And it'll mean the world to them. So we love you all. Happy Father's Day. I don't know when you'll watch this, but we appreciate you. We encourage you. And I don't know. I'll say this. No, I'm not going to say that. Anyway, we love you. Thanks so much for watching. God bless you.